Hmm. Hopefully you can see everything. I think it's just set up to record basic stuff. I apologize for the noise in the background. I have a kitten and she is going nuts, chasing all kinds of things. Um, anyway, so what I'm doing here is I've been given a task by a client to remodel some buildings that he made for a game, and so I thought it'd be kind of neat to just kind of like show what I'm doing and my thought process and why. This isn't really a tutorial or anything. It's just kind of like me doing stuff. Normally, I just put on music or I put a movie on as background noise and I just kind of model. Um, but But yeah, so here I am in Blender, and I don't work in Blender. I work in Maya. So I just took the Blender file and I exported this as as an OBJ, and then I brought it into Maya. And so here it is, and I started working on it, and I thought, yeah, well, maybe I'll show how this works. So the previous model that I got actually from him was pretty bad. Let me go ahead and just save this. Um, where is my clients list? And then uh, farm. And I'm doing the large shed, I think is what I'm doing here. And I'll just go ahead and open up this other file just to kind of show. And you can see this is taking a bit to load. So one of his complaints was he thought that the material he had on it, you can hear the laptop screaming. He thought the material he put on it was too high resolution, which it may be, because it was bogging down his game. But you'll see very quickly when this new one loads. This is the one that I built for him. I redid this. I'll go ahead and just hide these. Let's see. This is the original. You can see it's taking a minute to load that thing. There that is. It did have a floor. I don't know where the floor went, but it's okay. But you can see that this thing is just shredded. It's not really even usable. There's so many things stacked on top of this. If you're one of my students, you're probably going to have like a seizure looking at this thing because you know me when it comes to um, good topology, and this is just atrocious. Um, this thing is very easily. Uh, it says 1200 polys right here, but it's a lot more. It really is. Um, just because there are faces on top of faces, these are all inside out. There's overlapping geometry, stuff that just doesn't need to be there for a game model. Like on these can't think of the word, the rafters. Um, these are completely modeled all the way through. You don't need that, and there are so many of them. So there's back faces on these. Same thing on like these brackets here. He's got all the faces on them. We don't really need them. So you'll see on the model that I did for him, blah, 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 wherever I put that, get out of here. So you see on this, I really streamlined the model here. Um, this wall, for example, is a lot thinner. It's only one plane thick because it's using the same material. Um, and then like inside here, these are a separate piece. There's no bottom to that. You can see this is all hollow. Those are hollow. There's no bottom to this. There's not, because it doesn't need to be. You don't want to create what you don't need. Um, just like in here, he actually has an empty room in here, which is really weird. So if I go into, 4 and I kind of show this, there is an empty room right here. So you can go into here and there's like this little pocket, and you can kind of go into here and there's like this little office space. But this is an empty room. that you can't get into, and this is an empty room you can't get into. So it was just kind of like a silly design. Realistically, I could have divided this wall and taken that one out. I actually did not do that. I should have done that. um, let's see, and then on these guys, you can actually see from this one. This is how I remade all these. I removed any faces you didn't need. These brackets here are only really one plane thick, and oops, camera's getting kind of wonky. It's only one plane thick, and I removed all the back faces because you're not going to see this. Like when you're in game and you look up at this thing, you're not going to see this. You know, you might not see this one from there, like that would be invisible to you. But if you have double-sided textures on, you're going to see this, and it'll be fine. Um, and then like here, we're never going to see up here. We're not climbing the rafters or anything. Never going to see this. So this is just poly count reduction, just trying to make this more streamlined to be used for a game that's going to be online. And then, all the textures have been, adjusted and all that stuff. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. On this model, I had to remake everything. On the new one that I'm working on, so he gave me 3 buildings to redesign. On this one, as I'm loading it up here, this one is actually put together a lot nicer. I'll take it off of X-ray mode. This is a much better building. You can see that it is not shredded quite the way the other one was, and I can really reuse most of this. Like I don't have to remake everything. So the initial approach was I was going to separate a lot of this out and just reduce any polygons that I don't need. And actually, in Maya 2024, it makes it that a lot easier to do that. Um, but I think what I'm going to do is separate it out by part, and then I'll remake what assets I need. Because I was going through and I was cleaning this up, and after about 20 minutes of removing edges that don't need to be there, I was like, well, it's actually going to be more efficient to just isolate pieces and just remake them. Um, so here's a plane that I just started with, and I don't know what my hotkeys are for OBS, so hopefully I'm not turning things off by jumping in my hotkeys. It's still recording. It's still streaming. Okay, good. Um, I can't see the chat, so if you guys pop in the chat, um, I probably won't notice, but hello. Anyway, I'm going to snap these verts to where they need to go. So this one and that one goes over here, and then this one goes over there. And I'm just mapping out the shape of this plane, and then I'm going to extrude it. So um, object mode, let's go into wireframe, and I'll just extrude the model. Pro tip, if you want to extrude all the faces on a model, and you don't want to have to go through and select them all, go to object mode and extrude. It'll extrude the whole model. So extrude, there we go. And I'm going to hit my W key to get my arrow, and I'm just going to hold V and then snap. Try to snap to that vertex point. It's not going to let me because I'm not in the center here. That's all right. I'm going to go ahead and go to vertex mode. I'll grab here. I probably could just do the edge and then V snap to there. And if I put symmetry on, I can probably just get those two. So this is, I'm in the Z. So let's go to symmetry, Z. Grab that one. You can actually see it's not registering because it's not perfectly symmetrical. So I'll just turn symmetry off. Boop. And I'll just snap that to this corner. And I have to really get in here to make sure I'm on that corner. It's kind of wonky. So if your camera walks on you like this and you don't like that, you can just select an edge that you're working on and just F to frame on that. And now my camera will fly around that. and I can kind of get in here a little bit nicer. And that looks like a good alignment on that edge. I come over here and I grab this edge and I'll fly to that. And then I'll vertex snap this down to about there. Looks like it's good. Yeah, there we go. We have a roof pretty much done. I don't need to do anything else to it. Um, and I think that's good. So then the roof underneath, I can go ahead and hide that. Here's my roof. Great. And it's reduced. It's a lot fewer polys than what was on there. I'll just call this roof so I can find it. And I will remove any construction history just because it makes life a little bit easier. And I'll create a group. So if I select that and press, huh, I guess the group button is not the same. Let me do Control G instead. And I'll just call this large shed. And I'll just add pieces to my group as I go. So that's hidden. What is this? That's the old thing. Okay, good. Let me unhide this. And I'll hide that. It's taking a minute. What's up, Liam? Hmm. Ah, how's your Friday going so far? Hey, look, the chat works. That's kind of cool. It doesn't pop. I don't have a pop-up for it. I need to set that up. Um, are you able to see the screen okay? Can you hear me well? All right. So that model's taken forever to load. Go ahead and just grab. You can see this is kind of shredded. I'm gonna go ahead and just, I guess, nuke this one. And that. Still have the original. I'll save my work because Maya likes to crash. This is the original. I'll just duplicate it. Right. And then I'll separate it again. Separate. Yay. So I think I'm going to hide most of the upper part of the building and then do the floor because that'll be pretty quick. Grab all this stuff up top. Try that in. And I'll hide that. If you're not sure how I'm hiding things, H is the hotkey to hide. For a long time, I thought it was Control H, and I kept doing weird stuff. So it's just H. All right, reduce that plane, and I'll just go ahead and shape this plane out. Um, and actually, let me go to object mode, and I'll scale it. Oops. That way I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm gonna do the base shape first. It has these little offshoots, but those are pretty easy to make, so I'll go ahead and just grab these. I don't know if he really wants that corner, but I'll go to there. This one. Take to there. That does take you a while to get used to looking at a wireframe 3D shape. So I just know from experience where the bottom of this is. Um, which was an easier way of saying how to do that. Really, it's just you turn your camera to kind of see where things are at, and then you get used to where points are. Okay, so there's the base. And I'm gonna go ahead and just subdivide this. So get my cutty cutty tool. I need to extrude this way and around, so it means I need to create some slices. I need to slice about here. I need a slice about there, and I can extrude off of this. So I'll just line those up a little bit better. Um, let's grab this edge, grab that one, and then I'll vertex snap to here. Vertex snap is just holding V, and then dragging your arrow makes life a lot easier. So I'll grab these edges, and then I'll vertex snap to there. So V, and then I'll click the arrow, and then if I just run my mouse cursor near a vertex, it'll snap to one. So there's that one. I can always go way out here to one of these, but that's not cool. There we go. And then I can extrude off of those edges. So this one, actually I need a split down this side, so I'll regain my tool. Y is the hotkey to regrab a tool. And what's kind of convenient, I don't know if this is always in Maya, but in 2024, uh, it likes to, you can see it trying to snap to the nearest vertex, which is kind of cool. And I'll just realign that to there. That looks right. Okay. So I need to see how important that corner is. So I'm going to jump into Blender over here. And so there's a little bit of an offshoot for this. Back here, that kind of comes around. And there. So it looks like this corner isn't that important. This one right here. Oops, I'm trying to move like I'm in Maya. This corner probably isn't that important. I can probably take this straight to the end, and that'll just reduce some of the poly count, because I don't think that's even needed. Whoops. Trying to move like I'm in Maya. But this offshoot I will need. So I'll jump back in, see how things are going. Let's adjust the chat here. No, I think you're right about the delay, because I think the default is to have a delay. So if you're streaming a game, um, you don't want somebody to screen cheat and tell somebody you're competing against what you're doing. So there's usually a delay. I could turn the delay off, but I forgot about that. Okay, so yeah, so I'm not going to use this corner, but I will subdivide here. Y is to reset my tool, and then I'll go ahead and just cut. Mm. So it's pretty cool you're setting up for college. Dorm life is pretty fun. One of my kids from the current school that I'm at is going to be going to Florida Polytech. I would ask where you're going, but you probably shouldn't post it on stream. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and extrude to here. And actually, I should just extrude all the way around that. So I'm going to go ahead and just Control Z that. I'll go back a level, and then I'll grab these. And then I'll just green arrow pull. And you see that comes out. It doesn't come out very nice. It's kind of bent. You can get around that bent effect by using local scale. You can see how that kind of goes out more a little bit straighter, but it's not going where I want. It's actually going in Z. But if I come down to the local translate, that looks like the Y. I'll go ahead and grab that and move it. Yeah, it's still bent. Oh well. It's all right. I'll grab this one and that one, and I'll just do a X scale, and then I'll snap to here. This one, I'll Z scale, make it flat, and I'll go to here. It's good, and I'll extrude this one. See if I can hit G to repeat my last action, and then I'll V snap to there. And then this, I'll extrude to here and then out. So G, V snap to the first edge, grab this one, G to repeat, and then V snap to the end here. You know, a friend of mine is actually going to school for game design at Full Sail, and the irony is he calls me because he doesn't understand his teacher. So it's pretty funny. Um, okay, so I think that's all those are extruded. Oh, this is the little guy that I forgot. So let me grab him. Now this one does have a little corner piece, which is probably why he left a corner on that. But all right, grab that. 1 and 2. I'll line that up. Ooh, that's why. You straighten that, I'll straighten this. So Liam, what are you gonna go to school for? It's pretty cool. I went to Westwood. I don't recommend Westwood. All right, so I think I have the base floor done, and it's time to extrude. I'll go ahead and save first because Maya likes to crash, and then I will extrude. And with that, I will V-snap to a good edge. Let me find one. I think this is good. So V-snap, and yeah, that's good. There are some brackets that I did not remove on here, so I'm just checking. And it looks like he sloped the ground here. Which is fine. If it, I could always ask the client if he wants that slope. I don't think it's going to matter though. Yeah, he sloped it here. but this is flat here. So what I'll do is I'll leave that one on the corner and then I'll bring these up. Is that one sloped? No. All right, so I'm not sloping this one or that, or I'm not flattening that one or that one. The rest of this can stay flat, so I'll just move it to the nearest good edge, which I think is this one. There we go. And that's pretty much the floor. What I will do with the floor is remove any bottom faces. So I'm gonna hide the other floor. Let me hide this one actually. Oh, there we go. There we go. Hide that one, and then this one. Um, Maybe I'll group that. And then in there. Uh-oh, Maya's slowing down. What's up, Nate? How you doing? Oh, hey, computer science is pretty good. Open that. Come on, you. So there should be a group in here somewhere. There it is. I'll hide that. I'll get the floor that I just made. And let's remove the bottom. So I can go through and kind of select all this, but it's a lot easier to just grab it from the side. Grab faces, and I'll drag on the bottom. That selects all that, and I will negative drag on the top. Grab the bottom there, and then nuke it. Yay. Now I have a few choices, like this edge is not necessary. So when it comes to like reducing things, I don't need this edge. It does support some of the geometry, but removing it doesn't break anything. So what I could do is I could weld this edge to this one, and that'll create a bit of a triangle here. Um, but it's a static model, so it won't matter. So if I take this and do that, this is kind of ugly, but it does reduce the poly count. Same thing here. There's no real reason to have these edges. They're not doing anything, so I'm just gonna merge that down. Whoops, merged it too far. And then this edge is needed, but this one is not. So I can reduce this. All the way down to about here. And this one actually also is not needed. I was looking at it thinking I needed it for some reason, but I don't need it at all. So instead of that, I'll just go ahead and I'll just nuke the edge outright. I have some vertices left over, so I can just grab them. So yeah, so that edge I didn't need at all. And I don't need this edge. So I'll grab that. And I'll just delete the edge. Delete these vertices. Now, kind of a pro tip, if you have vertices that are not supported by two edges, um, technically you need to have three supporting edges for the vertex to stay. You can just double click on the model to grab all the verts and then press delete. And that will shave off any verts that are free floating. You got to pay attention though, because some of your corners might only be supported by two, and you might lose some definition on the corners. But all of my corners have three, so it's good. And then this edge I do need because this has to be supported. N-gons are no bueno. And this edge, I could reduce this to a triangle if I really wanted to be picky about it, but I think this one was fine. Because then it gets weird, right? If I take this one, it's a bit awkward. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that. The other thing about that edge is where the slope begins. I think the slope starts here on this one. So this edge is maintaining this decline. So that one I'll keep. And that one I'll keep. All right, we'll get rid of any history and save that. It's funny you mentioned that. So AI is not going to take all the jobs. A lot of people are afraid of it. And actually, we had a panel at so we do district-wide training every year. That's where all the teachers kind of gather and they go over, policies and procedures and um, new things that the teachers could learn to kind of help them teach and all kinds of stuff. But one of the things on the panel was um, they want us to start teaching Chat GPT in the classroom and all these other AI tools because AI is not really going to take over. It's not at a point yet where it can even be close to doing that. Chat GPT is um, very confidently wrong most of the time. You can use it as a tool, like a hammer or a drill. You can use correctly, you can do really cool things with it. Used incorrectly, you might not even get a birdhouse. So right now, it's just a very effective tool. Um, I've used it in coding as I'm programming something. I'm like, I need to write a script for this. Um, so I'll say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a script for doing, I don't know, uh, sending a call over the internet inside of Unreal, and it'll write a script for it, and then I'll go through and have to fix what's broken, but it'll get you close enough, and sometimes it'll do a thing, but it'll do it in the least efficient way possible. So you kind of have to go through and really babysit what it's producing. So it's not going to take over. And actually, I had a Twitter response where uh, I angered a lot of people by saying I'm completely okay with, because a lot of artists were getting mad that ChatGPT was trained on a lot of their stuff, like on their writing and on their artwork and whatever. And they're like, oh, well, you trained it on this. And I'm like, yeah, but it's freely accessible on the internet. So I don't have any problem with anything that is freely accessible being used by this system as a training model. What I have an issue with is if it's outright copying and violating copyright. Now, there's some caveats with copyright. Um, fair use doesn't extend to corporations and businesses and whatever. So there's some red tape in that area. But realistically, I don't have a problem with the systems being trained on that because it gives it a larger amount of data to make it more useful for everybody else. And I have a lot of stuff that's out there for free. And somebody's like, oh, well, why don't you put your work out there for free? I do a lot of my work for free. Um, all of my YouTube stuff is pretty much free. So it's whatever. But somebody's probably gonna yell at me for that. I'm gonna go ahead and set this to face. That way everything is um, nice. It looks like it's taking its time. It didn't quite go. Go ahead and do the harden edges. That's better. But yeah, that was a long-winded spiel to say I don't think AI is taking over anytime soon. Um, it's just a tool. Maybe when they get to the point of like Skynet and Terminator, then we have something to worry about. But it's not near that yet. Okay, so the floor is hidden, and this floor is good. I'll go ahead and put my new floor into my group over here. What's the next part of this model that I need? I'll go ahead and reveal all this stuff. All right, I don't need the ceiling because I did that already. So I'll just go ahead and isolate that. Kind of getting back to like ranting on Chat GPT. So I'm doing a comic book for the Guardians, and I'm hiring an artist. I've got a couple artists that I've picked out, and I'm kind of demoing their work to see what they're going to do with the project. I'm hiring the artists. I could have gone to Chat GPT or Stable Diffusion and said, "Hey, try this." And the problem is I don't get the results that I want. I have a very specific art style in mind. So you're gonna need somebody competent in that skill set to really do anything. Anything else in here? I think we're good on that selection. I'll go ahead and Control G that. That's the original roof. And I will hide. So now I just have this. Probably don't need to hide this thing. But these walls here, let me get this. Actually, I'll do that from the top. It'll be easier. So I'll select that, and then I will deselect here, here. And I'll deselect these windows. And I'll Control G that. I'll make that the porch. Hi, kitten. All right, you can see there's some stuff left over. And here's kind of like the same thing that I'm talking about with like internal faces. These are faces that don't need to be here. These are not doing anything useful except being bizarre. So I'll grab these and these and um I don't know where they're at though. Tell you what, I'll just group them and then I'll move them from the one group into the other. So grab these guys and I'll drag them to that porch group. And I can nuke that group there. And like you see there, there's that face left behind that we don't need. All right. So for this, same kind of deal. I'm going to create the framework and then probably remove any internal stuff. So got that. Let's get that guy and this one. And that's kind of cool. And now I need an internal shape. So what I'm going to do is extrude in the center. So I'll do an extrusion here. And then I'll pull that in. So scale, scale, and then delete. Now, I don't know when that started happening, but when you extrude a plane, sometimes it extrudes, um, kind of both sides in a weird way, like that. But I'll nuke that as well. There we go. And then this edge, I'll do this point by point, but this corner. Actually, I'll probably be able to do it cheaper this way. There we go. That one. Where is a good edge? There we go. Hey, look at that. Now there is this connected edge here, but we actually don't need that. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove this diagonal because the interior and exterior walls are actually separated, and I'm going to UV them separate. So it's just going to make life easier if these are not connected. Okay. Then I can grab this outer edge and then this inner edge, and I will extrude that. Gotta find an edge to go to. There it is. Awesome. And then I can make these peaks, and then I'll build the doors. So to make the, oh, before I make the peaks, let me go into 6 here. Let me go grab the bottom. Is the bottom open? Looks like there's a face here. We don't need that face. Is there a top face? No, I should be able to see straight through, and I do. Yeah. What's up, new gamer? So the building is I have a client who is doing a mod for a game that he plays, and he wants me to create. He wants me to remake these buildings. So he made these buildings a while ago, but they bogged down the game, and so the to be a bit cheaper. Hey, what's up? Uh, yeah, go ahead and ask a question as long as it's appropriate. Anyway, so I'm redoing the models for him so that they're more efficient for the game that he's doing. I'm gonna go ahead and split here. Oof. Now save that just in case, and I'll split there. All right. I'll grab this edge, and I need both edges there and there. Need to find the center edge, which is this guy, and there we go. You know what I didn't do is I didn't cut the inner side, so I have to go do that. Hmm. So actually what I'll do is I'll undo both of those. Then I'll go to a front view like so. So a wireframe, and I'll just uh, draw a line in the middle, slice, grab that, and I'll line it up this way. That should be a lot quicker, and I'll move that to center. Uh, thank you, Linko. How much time to get this good? Well, I've been using Maya for about 15 years. And it's really just trial and error and trying different things, and it doesn't come overnight. All right, so I want this up here, and this is where I'm going to start making some concessions. So these walls don't need to be attached anymore. I think I can separate um, this front section from the back section and then the side section, because when I start cutting these windows in, this is what's going to happen. So, for example, if I want to cut this door, I need to create an edge loop all the way around just for the door on the front, even though the back doesn't need that door. So, like, I'd have to do this, and then now I can cut this door in, but I don't need it for the back, and whatever not. Same thing for the windows. I have to cut the windows in, um, and for every slice that I put for a window, I'd have to do that for all the other sides. So I'm just going to separate a lot of this stuff out. And there are a few different tools to do it. You can grab an edge and then detach all the edges. So I'll just do, for example, this edge here and this edge here. And if I go to edit mesh and then detach, we can get that here. Also, you can do the hotkey menu. So if I do shift right click, I can do detach edge there. That gave me a very unpleasant response. So I'll go ahead and just undo that. Another option is to duplicate the model and then delete each piece separately. Not the best, but I can select the faces here and these faces in the back. I can duplicate them or I can extract them. So I'll go down, I'll just go ahead and do extract, and it'll separate these into two separate models. And that's its own thing. Go to object mode. They should have a front and back. So front and back. Yeah. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take the front and back of this, and then I'm going to combine that into a single object. So I'll hit combine. That way, when I start slicing, I can get both sides, and it'll make life a little easier. Same thing with this and that one. And then this one. Hey, that one's already joined. Cool. I don't have to do anything special with those. But what I will do, and take that back. I'm going to separate, because I want to separate this wall from that wall. But since they're already separated in the middle here, that separates both. Whoops, not you. There we go. And then that I can combine. This guy. That guy. But yeah, when it comes to modeling, the more stuff you model, just try modeling different things. Like model a dinner plate set, model a table, model a chair, um, model people, model animals. You're gonna screw it up a few times. You're gonna find shortcuts to make life easier. You'll find advice that you think is useful. Not every bit of advice is great, but you'll kind of pick as you go. All right, so I have my base walls here, and I'm gonna go ahead and just start cutting in this. Oh, let me check chat here. You forgot your question? All right, well, you can always come back to that later. Let's see. Ever mess with any other 3D programs? So yeah, so um, I started out in a program called TrueSpace, which is really funny. So TrueSpace, um, it was back on like old Windows 95, and what's kind of funny about TrueSpace is actually before I was gonna slice this way, but that's gonna be a problem, so I'm gonna slice that way. and I'll show you why. So if I were to slice, sorry, off topic. If I slice this way, I'm just gonna just do it, and then I want to readjust this edge because there's a diagonal here. I'm gonna have to try to maintain this diagonal slope as I'm moving this, and that's gonna be a pain. I don't want to deal with that. So a way to get around that is to cut, um, horizontally because these are straight edges. And I can take those horizontal edges, grab you, oops. I can line those horizontal edges up with here. Let's see how he's got that done. He has his internal edge, but I'm actually going to do this as a separate cut. So I'm going to go put that here. And I think that'll be all right. But now I have the space for the door, and now I can cut this way. So I have that supported. I can do my cut this way. This edge is naturally part of this. So I can cut out the door space. And then these corners, I don't have to worry about adjusting that anymore. I can just take this one and I'll do the edges because it's a little bit nicer. Like so. And this one doesn't matter if it's sloped or not. I'm actually going to take that and marry it back to here. As long as I don't merge it across. I did merge it across. Okay. Yeah. So I started on a program called TrueSpace back on old Windows 95, and it came in like 10 floppy disks. The not the big 3x5 or 5x5 floppies. It was a little 3x3, but it took 10 of them to load the program, and it was pretty slow. But I learned some modeling techniques in there, not great ones, but just tinkering around with it. And then Maya existed at that time, but it was just way too complex. I couldn't wrap my head around Maya. So I tried Blender, which was also out at that time. And I didn't quite like the way Blender felt. It didn't seem like a good feel. And so I moved on and stuck with pretty much what I had. A little bit later, I got into GameSpace. And GameSpace is just a game streamlined version of TrueSpace. So TrueSpace was kind of meant for everything, and then GameSpace was streamlined. So it's kind of like the like Maya to 3D Studio Max. Maya can kind of like do everything, and 3ds Max is really meant just for gaming, game development. But hardly anybody uses Max, at least from what I've seen. So I don't know. Okay, so that door is cut. And then I can cut this door kind of the same way. I will jump into a front view and I get the top of the door and then the two sides of the door. We get these. Oh, I'm grabbing both. That's silly. But yeah, I didn't actually get into Maya until I went to college. And then in college I um got a hold of Maya. And I wanted to learn it, but it was just kind of complex. So at that point in life I had to learn it, and so I did. And I've tried to learn Blender several times, and I can navigate in Blender, so I have Blender open so I can look at the original model and how it was made. So I can navigate, but it's just not intuitive. I don't think in Blender's hotkeys, which is really weird because I use ZBrush and I've used Animator. It's Anim with and then the letter 8 and then uh, R, I think. I don't even know if that program still exists, but it was a free modeling software, which was pretty good. Um, I've used those, but Blender just doesn't feel intuitive. And I can transition from Maya to Unity to Unreal to um, Photoshop um, to ZBrush, and ZBrush is not intuitive at all. But jumping into Blender feels weird. So I have a bit of a bias. Differences between Maya and Blender? Uh, oh, I missed a question. Different three programs. How to make. How am I making games for? So I've been tinkering with games since my early 20s. I learned a lot from books, and then I went to school for game design because I was doing it as a hobby. I actually went to school for physics, but I like story development a bit more, and so I leaned into games. And I was thinking of oh, there's that thing that I did. I broke my angle, the thing that I was trying to avoid. It's okay. I can fix the angle. I was just trying to avoid having to. But yes, I went to school for physics, and at some point I was like, I should go do game design because I'm doing it as a hobby, and I have to take physics and computer science anyway. Um, so it was like, killing multiple birds with one stone, as the colloquialism goes. And about halfway through my degree, I was like, I haven't taken a single math or science class. So I talked to my counselor, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're in game art." And I was like, "Oh well, that was a waste of 2 years." And thus my my continuation in game design has been as it is. Sorry, I like game design. I like story development a little bit more, but I and because I'm an okay artist, but I think I'm a better writer. So, all right, to fix this top edge, it's easy. I'm gonna merge these down to that corner. So this guy, boop, and then this one. Hopefully I didn't cross those. I did not. Okay. All right. And I can probably reduce this even more by merging these ones down because I just need to have this supporting edge for here. So I'm going to take this one to here and that one to here. And continuing the law of reduction, I can reduce this to there. So I'm just going to keep going. And the way you reduce is you remove anything um, that will no longer support the structure. Like certain edges have to be there to maintain the overall structure. Some edges don't. So like removing these, it doesn't affect this at all. Um, this is still a quad. That's still a quad. This is reduced down to a triangle because in order to have a quad, it'd have to cut through. But triangles are okay as long as it's not being bent. You know, if the model's not flexing, triangles are all right. Um, this corner here, I don't need these. I can reduce this to the top edge. And probably the same here, reducing this to the top edge. Now this is about being efficient, not necessarily pretty. Like this is terrible edge flow, terrible like geometry, but it'll be very efficient for poly count. So you take what you can get. So those should be good. I have to cut in the windows. Let's see. So differences between Maya and Blender. Price. That's really the biggest thing is price. Um, the layout. Um, Maya is owned by a corporation, and because a lot of people pay a lot of money to have a piece of software that does what they need it to do, they're pretty good, and that's pretty good in quotes that they're going to put some effort and some energy into fixing problems, fixing bugs, streamlining things. Um, and they do a pretty good job at it. And I say pretty good because there are some things that have lingered over time. Um, whereas Blender being pretty much community driven, it's updated by people who are enthusiastic about having that software, and they go, "Oh, I need this tool," and they write a tool into it, or they pitch to uh, other supporters of the community who are capable of doing that sort of thing, and then they do it. So the updating is less frequent in Blender. It's a little bit better now with Blender, the current version. And I lost my guy. He's in here somewhere. There he is. So this I need to name that. This is gonna be front wall. Next I'll do wall so they all organize and then front. Okay. As far as like tooling, they both programs can do pretty much the same thing these days. Blender has some really good plugins for HDR lighting. The modeling package is just fine. Um, you can do animations with it. You have the grease pencil, which is great for doing 2D. Maya has kind of a grease pencil. It kind of sucks. Blender's is better. Um, what else in there? Blender allows for fully 3D sculpting. Maya has it, but it's not that good. So for example, let me go ahead and save this. Um, grab a sphere. Oh, it took a second. Poor laptop. I'm probably running out of like hard drive space because I'm recording this. All right, so here's a sphere, and I can jump over to sculpting, and we have some sculpting tools, and I can do some fancy work on this. Um, where's my brush? Oh, it's a big brush. I'll just make the sphere bigger. Here's my brush. So I can like sculpt on this and do some modifications to it and whatever not. It's live sculpting. It's decent enough, but there's only so much you can do, and this is kind of new. Oh no, relax was always there. Um, but ZBrush is by far way ahead of what Maya or even Mudbox are capable of doing when it comes to 3D sculpting. But then you jump into Blender. Blender's 3D sculpting is pretty awesome. It rivals, I say rivals again with a little asterisk, but it's really close to what you would get inside of ZBrush, and you get that for free. So that's pretty cool. Um, if I were more adept at Blender, I would probably use it. I'm just not that adept at it, and that right now it's not worth my time to perfect my ability in Blender and get used to it. You know, just because I use Maya so often, I use it in teaching, I use it in everything else, and whenever I need a license for professional work, I buy the license so I can sell my professional work. Um, so so there's that. But yeah, I mean, Blender's a great tool if you can use it. Um, let's see. Yeah, 3D was tedious back in the days when you quit because uh, but he came back to it. Yeah, it's there's a bit of a learning curve. You know, I had a colleague who and th those those who know where I've worked will probably get this, but I had a colleague who taught film, and I often gave the argument, look, teaching game design is not like teaching film. I can't just put a camera in a kid's hand and then tell him to point in this direction and suddenly you have, a video. You have to go step by step about polygon design, edge flow, and proper geometry and all this. And that's just the modeling side of it. And then you have the UV side of it for texture mapping because you have to make sure UVs line up. You got to unfold them in 2D space, and you got to go into the whole texturing side, which is actually applying the texture into UV space. And then there's that, and then you have digital lighting, and you have correct proportions, and there's a lot that goes into that, and that's just the modeling side. And then you get into the programming side, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff for that. And then you have, um, and that's just those areas. And then you have the animation side, and how to do rigging, and how to animate, and how to do fluid dynamics, and how to do motion capture, and lip syncing, and eye rigging, and blinking, and all those little things. Animation is just not one thing. There's a bunch of little things for that. Um, and yeah, so there's a lot of tedious things that, there's like 100 different components to game design, teaching it as a course, and doing it. You know, when you have developers, they have dedicated people to do specific things. They have people who model, they have people who do textures, they have people who do the programming. You know, you usually don't have a jack of all trades, and because your jack of all trades is usually capable of doing a bunch of things, but they don't do any one particular thing very well. Usually that's where your technical artist is. So I'm kind of a technical artist. I can do a bunch of things. I don't do any one particular thing super well. Like I think I 3D model better than I program, but you got is what it is. Um, so I'll often have little arguments with that. But specs, uh, it's a good question. I don't have a good answer for the specs. Blender is a bit lighter. You can definitely run Blender from a flash drive. Um, Like you don't even need to install it. You can totally load it on a flash drive and run it off of a flash drive, and it runs pretty good in RAM. Maya is a bit beefy, and because of all the security measures that they put into the software to keep you from pirating it and using it without a license, everything's linked to the cloud. Um, so when you go to log into Maya, it syncs with the cloud and makes sure that you're registered, and it's just a pain. So, but I think it's a little bit easier to run Blender than it is to run Maya as far as system requirements. Don't necessarily quote me on that, but from experience, that does seem to be the case. All right. So I think, let me see what the time is. It's about 8 o'clock. Let's see. I think my wife is actually home. Nope, she's not here yet. So I think I'll put on these windows, cut these windows in, and then call it an evening. Um, yeah. So let's go in and get these done. These guys. Windows. Let's see, how am I gonna do those? You know, what I could do is cut a pocket out for the window space and then separate that and then cut the windows in on a separate section so I don't have to slice it all the way through, but um that's fine. It'll survive. Uh I will survive. Let's slice this way and then I'll do a slice up. Whoops, that wasn't the direction I wanted to go, but I'll fix it. Hmm, okay. Let's quickly go back to the main model and I will remove the history. Um, history and Maya will definitely eat up RAM, so which is a really weird thing. Like the construction history on Maya, like I can remove the history and still be able to undo. It's like, why is it even there? But now I don't know about the internal workings of Blender, but Maya is actually very node based. So if I actually go back and right here on my inputs, each one of these is a different node. And if I bring up the node editor, you can see where my cut occurred at what point on the X, Y, and Z axis. And I can go back and modify this, which is really cool. So if I go into where are you at? Windows node editor. And if I just load this object in, where are we? They make this menu so tiny and I'm blind. So if I load this object in, you can see here's all of the things affecting this particular model. You can see the cut, um, any tweaks that I've made, additional cuts, any components that were deleted, like all this stacks in here. And I can modify anything along the way and um, make some adjustments. I think Blender has something similar, but I haven't been using Blender enough to know the interface all that well. But this is kind of a cool thing. I think Blender keeps a lot of your work live on the edit, and you can make some adjustments there, and then you can do something similar where you bake it down and it becomes permanent. But Henning and Norton from Flip Normals are really good. They use both, and I know they have a session on both Maya and they have a session on Blender for some of the neat caveats or neat like tools and stuff that are inside of there. All right, let's get this You see other questions? Okay, we're just on specs. All right, nothing new at the moment, so we'll just continue on. And I'll just V-snap that to the window frame. Looks like the window is to there. I'm just looking for the most straight edge, which is that one. Yeah, and this little zigzag. Straighten that out. That's good. I know this is totally messing up my edge, but it's fine. I'll pull them back down to the corner. It should be all right. This guy, that one. Hmm. You know, 3D Buzz was really good back in the day. I learned a lot of stuff from 3D Buzz. They did a lot of stuff inside of True Space. And then when Game Space came out, um, yeah, I followed a lot of their stuff for Game Space. I think they're still around. They still do some things. Okay, so here's where it's going to get tricky. So when I want to match this window height, but I don't want to mess up this door. So I'm going to not grab that edge. I'll just take these edges. Those don't seem to matter, so and then this one, I think I lined it up earlier. Looks like I did, but just in case. And one thing I didn't do that I probably should do on here is make sure I scale it flat. I'll do it with these guys as well. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. That's not as important on like the whole structure, which is really on these. So if I grab these and just make sure I scale them flat. Okay. And then these windows can come out. And then I'm not going to do the inner edge of this because I'm going to make this little windowsill piece as a separate object. So I won't worry about that. Got that one. I'll get this window over here. Oh, I didn't fix my top. This isn't all that important here. Actually, no, I'll do that in a minute because I have to come back. It's going to be a lot easier to do it um, once I get this window in and remove what I don't need. So trying to work smarter. and I'm not gonna be that much. I'm gonna try to cut down on my anal retentiveness to get all these. I'm just gonna do these because I know I'm gonna reduce these down. Um, so that's not gonna matter too much. So really, I'll take these and I'll line them up here. I was going somewhere with the whole 3D buzz thing, but I forgot my train of thought. Um, but one of my favorite artists from 3D Buzz, I think Zach Parrish, I think is his name. He went on to be a technical artist for Epic, which is kind of cool. Oh, 1 second. Hello. Hey, hey. Waiting for you to get here so I can eat. I know. Um, I think Wing House is open till midnight, so we can still eat there. Yeah, yeah. All right, all right. Goodbye. Look at that. Talk about timing. Um, how often do I stream? Not often enough. Um, I recently just started streaming. I started streaming because I was gonna do some Resident Evil plays, and I streamed my playthrough of Resident Evil, Resident Evil 4 remake, and then I haven't been on in a while. I did that and just didn't come back. I set up a streaming channel and all that stuff. I said I wasn't gonna be anal retentive, and here I am. These. Why do I do this to myself? Okay, so that's straight. That's good. That's good. Let's start fixing some of this stuff. I can get rid of the things that I don't need. So this guy, but yeah, if you guys like this kind of stuff, I can stream more often. It just depends on audience and what people want to see and all that. But I try to upload like tutorials pretty regularly. I do more during the school season because I have to make tutorials for the class. So that's usually my upload time, and then over the summer I do my own thing. Um, but okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hide this, and I will take this top view. Is that the front? Yeah, that's the front. I'll get this. And all these are going to be set to a group. And I'll call that group wall front. And I can hide that. All right, and where'd my other areas? Okay, so this is back. Now you see how this is inside out? Um, that happens sometimes. Just go to um, mesh display and then reverse. Hey. And then I'll do mesh display. Let's do harden edges. Okay. Now it's time to do some reducing or reduction. And I will actually hide the thing that I'm not using, which is the main mesh. Okay. And these are my other walls. So this is uh, wall that's to the building's right. Right, if this is the front of the building, I'm facing this way. It's the right. This is wall left, and this is wall back. I'll do rear. And I can hide these out of the way. And this wonderful thing. I get this one. Oops. That's not going to be healthy. Because I have to have these cuts here, so I'm going to go this way. So I'll triangulate that. Somebody out there in like modeling space is gonna be like, "Oh my God, look at the atrocious walls." Um, yeah, it happens. So a little bit cleaner. We don't need that one, or that one, or that, or this one. But these have to be there for these cuts. Now, somebody out there, of course, is gonna be like, "You gotta make your edges pretty." Edge flow's great, and I teach a lot about edge flow. But there are times when efficiency is better. Hello? We can go out unless you don't want to go out. Well, because I figure um, to go out there just to bring it back, and then it's gonna be soggy and gross. So it's just easier to eat there. All right. Anyway, okay. And then what edges do I not need? So again, going back to reduction, I can get away with not having this one. So and not having that. That's a bit cleaner. Those I can't do anything with. Um, most of these can be reduced down to this one. So there's that. And then this up. Pick your battle, up or down. You know, where do you want that edge? Do you want it up or down? If you go down, you get this. If you go up, oh, it's an atrocious noise. I think that's cleaner. My cat Misty, she's about 20, and as she got older, she got louder. Guess I'll reduce to the corner. Reduce to here. Now, if the edge flow like bothers you, and you're like, "Oh my God, I can't do it. I can't do that." You can totally do this. You can put a split here, and then have that go to the other edge. Look at that. Amazing. All right, so that's one side. I do the other side. Now comes the tricky part, mimicking what I did. Uh, you can go to here. You can go to there. I think it's safe to say this one's not needed. Yeah. And then you go there. You go there. Oops, wrong direction. Well, thank you. I appreciate you liking the streams. Do it more often. Okay, I can see about setting up a schedule of doing streams more regularly. Maybe I'll pick like a day, like a Wednesday or something to do them, or a Friday night or something like that. Yeah, yeah, it's the same thing. Like I watch others model, uh, and it just kind of gets with the flow. Like sometimes I'll put on like while I'm modeling, I'll listen to flip normals, um, even if it's something that I'm not doing. You know, if I'm working on an eye, maybe I'll put on a video of them working on an eye. But it could be anything. You know, helps keep the mindset. This one can go up, and definitely when you're working, take breaks. Uh, for a few reasons. Like when you get tired, you make uh, really poor decisions. And when you come back, you go, oh, that was a silly idea. This one here. Oh, stop, please. It's painful. Don't do that. I always say the worst sound in the world is a baby cry, and that is very close. I know I'm a horrible human being. I know. It's a sound that cuts through any thought or focus. And it's really good at doing that. And they say that as you get older or smarter, uh, you become more sensitive to sound. Uh, I don't think I'm any smarter, but I am definitely older. Make sure I'm not crossing those. Oh, I went the other way with that. Okay. Ah, not that it matters. I was trying to match the sides, so it's just consistent. But these would actually work better if I merge them down versus up. Give me something a little bit cleaner to work with. Whoops. Took my brain a second to calculate that line there. And I was like, please wait. There we go. I think that's about as reduced as I can get it. Yeah, because I need that edge, need that edge, need those, need those. All right, so there is one wall. Clear the stuff on it. Save it. Check it for aesthetics. Looks good. And I think that's gonna be good for the evening. Any last questions before I disappear? Let's see. Yeah, just kind of like reflect back on the mind, yeah, on what's going through someone's head when they're working. Um, it's always helpful. There's a guy, I can't think of his name, but he does I'll have to think of it. I'll leave it in the maybe in the description or whatnot, but he does ZBrush tutorials and he does like streaming like this, and he's just been in it for so long that he's tried various tricks and has like 20 different options for doing a certain thing, and he'll go through each one and you can kind of pick the one that you like. And that's really helpful because not everybody does the same thing the same way. And it's good to see those different techniques. So maybe I can do that for Maya. But all right, guys, I appreciate you guys hopping on the stream, and I shall see you in the next one.